"Come in, young lady," Professor Jungkook said, his voice firm but welcoming as he gestured to the chair in front of his untidy desk. "Thank you, Professor," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "Why?" And had never been to his office before, and the atmosphere had a tension she couldn't quite place. She sat down, her eyes darting around the room, taking in the bookshelves that lined the walls, the faint scent of old paperbacks mingling with the faint aroma of his cologne. It was the same cologne he wore in class, but here, in this private space, it was stronger, more intimate. Professor Jungkook closed the door with a gentle click that seemed to echo through the room. He took his seat, leaning back in his chair, his eyes never leaving hers. "Now, tell me, what seems to be the trouble?" His gaze was piercing, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern. "Why?" Anne took a deep breath, her heart racing. "It's about the assignment, sir," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't finish it on time." The professor's eyes narrowed, his expression shifting to one of disapproval. "You know the rules," he said, his tone a warning. "That I'm willing to hear you out, explain why you couldn't complete it." Her mind raced, trying to formulate an excuse that wouldn't sound like a lie. But the truth was, she had been busy with other things she couldn't possibly tell him about. "I had some personal issues, Professor." "I'm sorry." Professor Jungkook leaned forward, his elbows resting on the desk, his fingers spire in front of his chin. "Personal issues, His gaze was intense, and she could feel it peeling back the layers of her soul. "And what, exactly, are these personal issues?" Her cheeks flushed with heat. It's complicated," she stammered. "I'm sure it is," he said, his voice low and measured. "But if you want my help, you're going to have to be more specific." "Why?" Anne's eyes searched the room for a way out, but all she found was the cold, hard stare of the man in front of her. She knew what was coming next, but she couldn't bring herself to admit her failure so easily. "I just need an extension," she pleaded. "One more day, and I promise it will be perfect." Professor Jungkook leaned back in his chair again, his eyes never leaving hers. He took his time, considering her request. The silence was deafening, the air thick with the weight of his decision. "Very well," he said finally. "But there will be consequences for your disobedience." "Why?" Anne's heart sank into her stomach. She had no idea what he meant by that, but she knew it couldn't be good. "What kind of consequences?" she asked, her voice shaking. He leaned forward again, his eyes shining with something that looked almost like excitement. "You'll find out tonight," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper, "when you come to my apartment."